As Novak Djokovic stepped on court to train this morning, the superstar remained engulfed in speculation about his future at this year's Australian Open. This evening, the Immigration Minister Alex Hawke gave his answer.
Today, I exercised my power under Section 133C of the Migration Act to cancel the visa held by Mr Novak Djokovic on health and good order grounds on the basis that it was in the public interest to do so. I carefully considered information provided to me by the Department of Home Affairs, the Australian Border Force and Mr Djokovic.
I'm surprised that they went ahead with that. I assume his lawyers will now seek judicial review of that decision.
Court documents show Djokovic thought he did have a valid medical exemption when he entered Australia last Thursday, only to be detained and questioned by Border Force officials. His visa was cancelled over his vaccination status and then reinstated when the Federal Circuit Court found he hadn't been afforded due process. With the tournament just days away, some players are voicing their own frustration.
98% of the players have been vaccinated and did what they had to do in order to come and perform and play in Australia. A very small majority of that percentage chose to follow their own way. Makes the majority look like they're all fools or something.
Attention has also turned to possible reputational damage. Former tournament director Paul McNamee tweeted, "I don't like our Grand Slam being subject to ridicule."
If it looks either difficult or not clear or complicated, or when somebody arrives and they find themselves in trouble that they're not receiving the warmest of welcomes, that is a problem for Australia as a whole, and therefore by extension for Melbourne, given its status as our sporting and events capital.
Late today, the ABC learned 2 players who flew into Australia for next week's Open with the same exemption as Novak Djokovic have flown out of the country of their own accord.
The tennis star's visa has been cancelled, but what happens now? Let's bring in Amy Bainbridge, who joins us from Melbourne Park. Amy, do we know what Novak Djokovic is going to do next?
Not yet. We don't have official confirmation, although we had been aware earlier in the week of much discussion and speculation that the superstar would challenge any decision to cancel his visa. What we're hearing at the moment is that Team Djokovic is considering the situation and assessing their options, so no official word. Of course, this does put the Australian Open in quite a difficult situation. Play is set to start on Monday. Novak Djokovic is the number 1 seed in the men's draw. We know that Tennis Australia does have contingency plans in place, but of course there is a lot of uncertainty heading into the weekend. We also know that the Federal Circuit Court has plans or resources in place should it come to that. Should this matter end up in court again at the weekend, we will have to wait and see and await official confirmation to find out what's going to happen next.
OK, Amy, thank you for the update there. The drawn-out legal saga could have another twist in it yet, and it took the federal government days to reach this decision. Let's bring in political reporter Matthew Doran at Parliament House. Matt, was this the expected outcome?
Meredith, good evening. We know that the Prime Minister went very hard on this case very early on. He said that the rules applied to everyone, and had the federal government allowed Novak Djokovic to remain in the country on this visa, it would have amounted to an embarrassing turnaround for the government and its position, and also would have opened it to allegations that it was giving special treatment to an individual simply because of his blistering backhand game. The eyes of the world have been on the Immigration Minister Alex Hawke as he's considered this case. We know that the grounds for which he's cancelled this visa include that it's in the public interest and that there is a risk to the public, and the public's health. Well, you might be wondering if at a situation in a time when tens of thousands of new COVID-19 cases are being reported across the country each and every day, having one unvaccinated foreigner walking the streets of Melbourne might be a pretty minimal risk. But this is a matter of principle. Australians have gone through 2 years of tough restrictions dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, and the rules for entry into Australia are that you need to be double vaccinated or have a valid medical exemption. Allowing Novak Djokovic to stay would have been untenable. It's of course worth mentioning that Novak Djokovic is not a backpacker. He is a tennis star. He has considerable financial means, and we understand his legal team are considering their options this evening.
Yes, we'll look out for further developments this evening. Thank you, Matthew.